Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Last Post ceremony. My name is Holly Pritchard, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 1, Virginia Morris. Today marks the 25th anniversary of the Australian-led deployment of the International Force for East Timor, INTERFET. Australia contributed more than 5,000 personnel to the 22-nation regional peacekeeping force, with the first Australians from INTERFET arriving in Dili on the 20th of September 1999 to quell unrest after East Timor's successful referendum for independence. Over the coming months, calm was restored with an international peacekeeping force taking over in February 2000. Involvement in East Timor was Australia's largest peacekeeping mission to date and the largest overseas military deployment since the Vietnam War, as well as being the first time Australia had led a major international coalition. Australians continue to be proud of our instrumental role in the establishment of the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste. We welcome the veterans who have served, those who are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of the Australian Islamic College of Sydney from Mount Druitt, New South Wales. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. With golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is got by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Students, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Captain Randolph William Creswell. Randolph Creswell was born on the 13th of March 1890 in Largs Bay, South Australia. He and his twin brother Edmund were the eldest of 8 children, born to Vice Admiral Sir William Rooke Creswell of the Royal Australian Navy and his wife Adelaide. When his family moved to Victoria, Randolph studied at Melbourne Grammar School. Later he studied mining engineering at the University of Melbourne. When the First World War broke out in 1914, Randolph was working as a mining engineer in Broken Hill. Randolph Creswell volunteered for service almost immediately. He was initially sent to Rabaul in New Guinea, where he was attached to the headquarters staff of the Australian Naval and Military Expeditionary Force. He left Rabaul in March of 1915, now a lieutenant. In July, Creswell enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force and was allocated to the 29th Infantry Battalion. He embarked for active service in November, sailing from Melbourne on the troop ship Ascanius, and disembarked at Suez in early December 1915. The Gallipoli campaign had been abandoned, and the Australians returned to Egypt by the end of the year. The AIF began a period of expansion known as the doubling of the AIF. Creswell was transferred to the newly formed Imperial Camel Corps for the Sinai-Palestine campaign. Assigned to the 3rd Australian Camel Battalion, Creswell and his men often clashed with groups of pro-Ottoman tribesmen known as the Senussi. In July 1916, Creswell was made captain and posted to a command position where he was removed from the frontline fighting. During this period, he received a mention in dispatches and was awarded the Order of the White Eagle, 5th class, by the King of Serbia for distinguished services during the Desert Campaign. Creswell rejoined his battalion in November 1916 and took part in the fighting at Magadaba in December and at Rafah in January 1917. Creswell and his men were involved in particularly costly fighting around the Turkish bastion of Gaza in April 1917 after 2 frontal attacks failed to break through enemy defences. Allied forces then attacked enemy positions at Beersheba, the terminus of the Gaza-Beersheba railway line. They hoped to outflank the enemy and close in on Gaza from the east. In October, a major attack by the Light Horse enabled the Allies to take Beersheba and start the push towards Gaza. Creswell and his men were still in the vicinity of Beersheba in early November, fighting against enemy units that refused to retreat. On the 6th of November, Creswell was leading an attack on enemy positions, and he ordered his men to lie low as he crept forwards to observe over a hill. As he stuck his head over the cover, a machine gunner opened fire, striking Creswell through the head and killing him instantly. One of his men recalled. Lieutenant Dawson raced up to see what happened. Again, the Boschie machine gun pulled the lever and Dawson fell across Creswell's body. 4 men rushed to his assistance, not heeding Dawson's last words. "Look out, boys. We're covered with machine gun." The 4 men fell around their officers. Captain Creswell was a good sport and a good Australian. To his men and mate, only differing from them in this, that he thought it was his business to take all the chances. For his actions, Creswell was awarded a second mention in dispatches in 1918. He was later laid to rest at the Beersheba War Cemetery, where he lies today. Beneath the words chosen by his family, they read, "I have fought the good fight, I have kept the faith." Captain Randolph Creswell was 27 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Captain Randolph William Creswell, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.